This is a podcast from the Daughters to Online Radio Company. There are some terms and conditions regarding its use. Probably. We hope you enjoy it, and if you do, maybe you would enjoy other podcasts. Welcome to the Daughters to Online Radio Company.
Hello and welcome to the DORC podcast. This week has involved a lot of meetings about finance, and I've learnt one or two interesting things. One of them being, to paraphrase Goebbels of all people, if you're going to tell a lie, tell a big one. The company as a whole this week has released its accounts as it is legally obliged to, and they look alright, but I did notice some differences between the official numbers and what the press release said. But the press release didn't exactly lie, it just missed out one or two inconvenient facts and had no context at all. It turns out that this podcast is coming in several pounds under budget. And that sound that you can hear is us patting ourselves on the back, because we've done very well. There is your headline, print that, put your paper to bed. Does anyone still print newspapers nowadays, or is it all online? I digress. Anyway, we have come in under budget. But what you haven't been reminded of is that this is a new budget that is 4 times the original one. Sneaky, huh? I mean, it's not a problem. No lies were actually told, merely truths withheld. We are just a tiny organisation. What does it matter? I really can't imagine any large company organising the world's largest multi-sport event this summer, and the government of the country in which the event is being held would ever use such a sneaky little trick. So, the podcast then. And there has been a story about some penguins that has grabbed a lot of headlines this week, and we couldn't ignore it. So we made a little documentary about the notebook of George Murray Levick. On Captain Scott's ill-fated Terra Nova expedition to the South Pole in 1910 was a young medical officer and avid biologist called George Murray Levick. His role on the voyage was to help treat the explorers' ailments, but also to study the new and exciting animals that they might discover on their voyage and record his findings for posterity. That, and offer, comfort to the men. I mean, why else would you take a sissy biologist with you? Unless he was tubby and you were expecting to run out of food. Mr. Levick had a particular interest in penguins and was a pioneer in their study. He was the first person to stay for an entire breeding season with a colony on Cape Adare. However, what he saw shocked and disturbed him. His Edwardian sensibilities trembled before the activities of these humble birds. This was no right-wing Christian-supported, aren't all the animals lovely, see how monogamous and heterosexual March of the Penguins type affair. Oh no, this was much more like Werner Herzog's Encounters at the End of the World.
Is there such thing as insanity among penguins? I try to avoid a definition of insanity or derangement. I don't mean that a penguin might believe he or she is Lenin, Napoleon Bonaparte. But could they just go crazy because they've had enough of their colony?
He did indeed record the activities that he observed and published them, but in order to protect the common man from what he described as the depraved acts of these beasts, he withheld all of the fun parts and later released them in a pamphlet circulated to a select group of about 100 scientists on the advice of the then Keeper of Zoology at the Natural History Museum, Sidney Harmer. In order to make super doubly sure that no one but the most learned and, in his mind, least shockable, or perhaps most likely to enjoy penguin snuff porn, he wrote these parts of his notebook in Greek. Most of the copies of this leaflet have been lost, but there are 2 known to survive. One of these, along with Mr. Levick's original notebook, has recently been rediscovered at the Natural History Museum. The museum's curator of eggs and nests, Douglas Russell, discovered the works whilst doing some light filing. He said, "I just happened to be going through the file on George Murray Levick when I shifted some papers and found underneath them this extraordinary paper which was headed The Sexual Habits of the Adelie penguin, not for publication, in large black type. A visibly aroused Mr. Russell panted, "It's just full of accounts of sexual coercion, sexual and physical abuse of chicks, and non-procreative sex, and finishes with an account of what he considers homosexual behaviour, and it was just fascinating." The rediscovery of these documents has caused a flurry of press activity, but few have been allowed to see them. However, due to this network's friends in high places within the museum community, we are the only people who have been allowed access to the original notebooks, Greek penguin porn and all. We have read Levick's notebooks and diaries and have had a translation made of the smutty bits. And we now present some selected highlights from Oh I Say, What Are Those Penguins Doing? Day 1. Dear Diary, well, here I am in the Antarctic. It's nice to get off the boat and have a decent walk around. Also, having a little sit down in the cold snow has come as a blessed relief for my poor sore bottom. I will be checking the terms and conditions of my contract when I get home, because I'm pretty sure that I did not sign up for that. I have come here to study one of God's more idiosyncratic creations, the flightless bird that is the penguin. As I understand it, a more pure indication of how God wants us to live has yet to be discovered. Taking only one partner of the opposite sex for its entire life, raising children and supporting each other through the difficult times. God's love, made in the elegant in the water but looking stupid on the land shape of the penguin. What joys does the next year hold for me? I cannot wait to get going and then return home to my wife and tell her of the life-affirming things that I have discovered, and to publish my work to great acclaim. Might just sit down on this snowdrift for a while longer though, the cold is very soothing. Day 2. Woke up to a blizzard. This continued all day. Not managed to get as much work done as I had hoped, but it is only the second day. Still plenty of time left. Day 3. Today is foggy. I can see nothing. What wonders are being hidden from me? Day 4. Foggy. Day 5. Foggy and snowy. Day 6. Windy, foggy and snowy. Day 7. Snowy. Day 8. Foggy and snowy. Day 9. Snowy. Day 26. It surpasses my understanding how one place can have such poor weather. Foggy, gales, snow, blizzards. How can anything live here? I have been at this place for a month and have not yet managed to venture outside of my hut. I am getting better at chess though. Well, against myself anyway. Day 42. Success! I have made it outside and I have seen penguins. Such chirpy, friendly, spirited little birds, pairing off as God intended. Their aim to raise chicks. Note to self, seal carpaccio, not a good thing. Day 52. Snowy, gales, fog. Stayed in all day, am teaching myself to crochet. I can hear the penguins calling. Day 61. It's that kind of cold that freezes you right through. Day 78. Well, I'm sure I am mistaken and that I have misidentified the sex of some of those beasts, but it seems that some of the male penguins have been trying to mate with some of the other male penguins. As I say, it is probably a mistake that I have made, as no God would create such a thing. Day 85. I don't understand it. Many of those females really don't seem to be in the mood for breeding, yet the males really seem to want it, perhaps a little too much. They seem to be forcing themselves upon the females. I don't want to use that ugly word that may offend the more delicate ears, but I really do think that this might be rape. These are hooligan penguins. There is no other word for it. Hooligan. I have seen nothing like it before in my rather sheltered, admittedly, upbringing. Day 107. I have invented a new word to describe what I have seen. I have witnessed something so appalling that I cannot write about it in any way that might be understood by anyone. Hence the new word that no one will understand. The word is necrophilia. Darwin said, I cannot persuade myself that a beneficent or omnipotent God would have designedly created parasitic wasps with the expressed intention of their feeding within the living bodies of caterpillars. I'm sure God really does have a plan for these slightly weird flightless freaks. He does work in mysterious ways and all, but I am struggling to discover it. Maybe there's no... No, of course there is. That is just silliness. Day 162. Some of the males are now attacking the chicks. They are killing them, and the ones that they aren't killing, they are trying to have sex with, even if they are their own children. My God in heaven, why have you forsaken them? I haven't pooed since I've been here. Day 240. Right, that's it. My notebook is full of accounts of sexual coercion, sexual and physical abuse of chicks, non-procreative sex, and finishes with an account of what is obviously homosexual behaviour. I am now going to have to translate all of this into Greek to protect those not as educated as myself and about 100 of my closest friends. Really? Is this what God planned? The Bible says not. It says that all of these things are wrong and punishable, yet here the penguins are, living their lives, offending God, who does nothing but make it really, really cold here. And they are getting on with their lives. None of these things that they do seem to affect the success of their species at all. Is it possible that the Bible is wrong? Might Mr. Darwin's assumptions about the nature of God be right? I shudder even to write this, but might there be no God? There is no proof that he exists, unless you use the really rather poor look around you at all the beauty of nature, God made it as he wanted argument. If he does exist, then he made these rapey, murdering, necrophiliac, flightless, swimming birds. So all of these things that they do cannot be wrong, if God, who is infallible, created them. Why would a loving God allow a cute, defenceless chick either to freeze to death, or to be killed by an adult penguin, or allow a human child to suffer and die for that matter? Does that sound like a God that I, as an essentially nice person, want to believe in? If he does exist, he really doesn't sound very nice, and I certainly don't want to worship him. There really can only be one logical conclusion. There is no God. And the penguins are out here, in this dark, cold place, by themselves. The only thing to shelter them against the storm and against the cold is each other. They huddle together to protect themselves from the very planet that they are lucky enough to call home. The only planet that we know of to have life upon it. Of all the planets in the solar system that we can see, there is only one where things are just right. This is all there is. There is no heaven. There is no hell. No life on other planets. It is just us in this infinite blackness of space. We are those penguins, huddled together against the cold. Those that surround you, helping to protect you from the worst that the universe can throw at you. Keep them close. On a lighter note, roast penguin is delicious.
The Daughters to Online Radio Company is written by Martin Norris, produced by Martin Norris, and recorded in the front room of a house owned by Martin Norris. Please do feel free to give us a good review on iTunes, or Twitter and Facebook your friends to tell them about us. Thank you.